started. Yesterday, did we get to, what was the last number we got to? Was it 8? Okay. All right, so we're gonna do 9 through 16. Okay. Sorry, my other classes got to different ones. Okay, so what plus 1 would give us 10? 9. And 1 times 9 is 9. What times 14 would give us 98? 7, and then we add that together, that's 21. What times -4 would give us 28? Okay. Everybody see how we're doing this? Because this is important for factoring. You're going to need this. Okay. Then what plus 5 would give us 9? 4. And then 4 times 5 is 20. Okay. What times 13 would give me 78? 6. If I didn't know that, what I would type in my calculator is I would do 78 divided by 13, and that would give me this other number. Okay. 6 plus 13 would give me 19. Now here's the tricky part. This is where we actually are going to start using these things. What times what would give me 90, but also add together to get me -21? Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay, so do you know factors of 90? Like, what two numbers can I multiply together to give me 90? 1 and 90. Okay, what else? 2 and 6 and 15. Okay, how did we get this one? Right. Okay, so -6 and -15. Now, if you didn't know that off the top of your head, here's how Desmos can help you. Okay, if you typed in here 90 divided by x, and then go into your little table, this pulls up all your factors. And you see how 615 is one of them. Okay, then I don't have to know my multiplication skills. It can do it for me. Now, Friday, remember, we're not given Desmos, but we're given a graph, or we're given a yellow calculator. Okay, so you can play around with them, or you can use Desmos on your test. Okay, now what two numbers can I multiply together to get me 12, but add together to get me -8? What two numbers can I multiply to get me 12, but add together to get me -8? What are factors of -6 and -2? Again, you're going to want to list out the factors of 12 and then kind of piece together what could be added to get -8. What about 77? Multiply to get you 77, add together to get you 18. Go ahead and say it. Yep. 11 and 7. Okay, cool. Again, if your multiplication skills are lacking, it's okay, no shame, but you've got to do something about it because it doesn't get easier unless you practice. Okay. All right. So we're going to jump in. Let me put pause on. Okay. So when we multiply this out, remember we multiply the side lengths to fill in the boxes. So x times x gives us what? X squared. Okay. -2 times x gives us -2x. X times 5 gives us 5x. And -2 times 5 gives us -10. Okay. Now you can write these out and then combine your like terms, or we're going to add on the diagonal. Okay. We see that these two things are going to be combined. Okay. So what's 5 minus 2? 3. So we're going to have 3x in the middle. This -10 can't be combined with anything. And this x squared is just going to be pulled out front because it can't be combined with anything. So our standard form is going to be x squared plus 3x minus 10. Okay. On the next one, if we have x minus 1 and x minus 4, x times x gives us x squared. X times -1 is -1x. -4 times x gives us -4x. And -4 times -1 gives us +4. Okay. Again, we're going to add on the diagonal. These are both negatives. So we're going to say 4 plus 1 is 5. And we're going to keep that negative out front. Bring down that 4. Bring down that x squared. So today, we're going to really focus on going reverse. So we're going to do standard to factored form or intercept form. Okay, so we started talking about this briefly when we were talking yesterday. Okay, so what do you know about the graph x minus 2 times x plus 5? What do we know about that graph? What do we know about that graph? Where are x-intercepts going to be? 2. Okay, so x-intercepts are going to be at -2 and, I'm sorry, +2 and -5. Okay, what new information about the graph was revealed when we multiplied the binomials to rewrite the expression as this? What can you tell me from this one? Okay, and what is that going to be? Okay, so everybody see it? So with the factored form, it helps us find the x-intercepts. With the standard form, it helps us find the y-intercept. And that's just from a graphing perspective. Okay, so what if we have this function? How could we find the x-intercepts of this function? Well, we can factor, right? And we started talking about this yesterday using the algebra tiles. Okay, I want to kind of skip over the algebra tiles, and I really want to focus on this area model because that's where we're going to spend the majority of our time. So when you have this type of expression, the first thing you're going to do is put the first term in the first box. Okay, so first term in the first box. And you're going to put the last term in the last box. With me so far? Okay, now, you know those little diamond thingies that we had at the beginning of class? We're going to do the big X. That's what those are called. Okay, so off to the side, we're going to multiply the first and the last. So that's going to give us 3. And then our middle number is going to go on the bottom. So you're going to ask yourself, what 2 numbers can I multiply together to get me 3, but add together to get me 4? What can I multiply together to get me 3, but add together to get me 4? 1 and 3, right? Okay, see how I did that one? Okay, so that's going to give me 1x here and 3x here. Okay, I'm going to give you. So now we're going to like kind of fill in the outsides. So what times what would give me x squared? X. So x times x would give me x squared. What times x would give me 3x? 3. What times x would give me 1x? 1. And is 1 times 3, 3? Yeah. 1 times 3 is 3, right? Yeah. Okay. So we see the things on the outside. Okay, so we're going to put a plus sign in between because these are both positive because we didn't use any negatives. And our factored form is going to be x plus 1 times x plus 3. Okay, let me fill in these little steps really quick. Okay, so what we did was we put the first term in the first box, last term in the last box, and then we did our big X or our diamond problem, which we'll practice this, okay, because this is probably the hardest part. And then we took the GCF, which basically means to find the outsides. The GCF stands for greatest common factor. Let's see how far you got. Okay, so first term goes in the first box. Last term goes in the last box. Got that? Okay, got 2 steps done. Good. Now we're going to do the big X. So we're going to say 1 times -8, That gives me -8. And B, which is that 2, goes in the bottom. So what two numbers can I multiply together to get me -8, but add together to get me 2? Multiply to get me -8, add together to get me 2. Okay, so nobody say the answer out loud. What are factors of 8? I know that 1 times 8 is 8. 2 times 4 is 8. Is there a way to make 1 and 8 add together to get me 2? No. What about 2 and 4? Yeah, but I got to make one of them negative, right? That could be that -2. Everybody see how I did that? I listed out the factors, and then I said, all right, what can I manipulate in order to make that add together? Okay. All right, so that's going to give me 4x in this box and -2x in this box. All right, now I'm going to ask myself, what two things can I multiply together to get me the inside? So x times x gives me x squared. What times x would give me -2x? -2. What times x would give me 4x? 4. 4 times -2 gives me -8. I see that there's a negative right here, so we're going to have x minus 2. This one's positive, so we're just going to leave it x plus 4. Okay. Factoring is probably your most important thing that you learn in Algebra 1, because you use it in geometry, you use it in Algebra 2, use it in pre-calc, use it in AP Calc. I don't really use it in AP Stat, but... All right, let's talk about the first one at least. Okay, so again, we're going to draw our box. And we're going to put our first term in the first box, last term in the last box. Now we're going to do the big X. Okay, you're going to take your first times your last, which will give us 12. And then our B term is going to go on the bottom. Okay, the reason why I'm calling that the B term is because when we put things in standard form, this is how it's written. Okay, that B term is that middle term, right? Okay, so what two numbers can I multiply together to get me 12, but add together to get me 8? Okay, so 6 and 2, right? Okay, so that's going to be 6x and 2x. Okay, now we're going to fill out the outsides. So x times x gives us x squared. 6 times x gives us 6x. 2 times x gives us 2x. And 2 times 6 gives us 12. We're going to put plus signs in between. And so it's going to give me x plus 2 times x plus 6. How many of y'all got that right? Good, yes. Okay, cool. All right, on that next one, same concept. First goes in the first box, last goes in the last box. So we're going to do our big X. A times C gives us 6. B is 7. Okay, I really need you to get in the habit of saying A times C, because sometimes this number in the front will change from that 1. Okay, now what two numbers can I multiply together to get me 6, but add together to get me 7? 6 and 1. So it's going to give me 6x. This is going to give me 1x. We're going to fill out the outsides. So we've got x times x, 6 times x, and 1 times x. Okay, we're going to put plus signs in between. And we're going to get x plus 1 times x plus 6. Many times people just do this, but they never write the final answer. You got to write it like this, because that's what it asks us for. It said intercept form. Okay, don't just leave it in the box. We okay? We're getting better at it? Okay. All right, go ahead and skip to this page. I think this is on there. Should be like the last page. Okay. On here, what I want you to do, on part A, I want you to factor. Okay, so that's what we've been working on today. Part B, I want you to multiply this guy to fill in those boxes. And then C, you're going to factor, which is what we were working on today. Okay, so A we factor, B we multiply, and then C we factor again. Take a second, try these 3, because you need to be comfortable with going forwards or backwards. Okay, y'all see it? Yeah, it says missing numbers on there. Okay, Go ahead and take a moment, try these three, and then we'll move forward. Okay. To be comfortable with whether they say factor or whether they say multiply. Okay. So if they say factor, you're breaking it apart. If they say multiply, you're putting it back together. Okay. So up here, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna draw our box first. And we're gonna put the first term in the first box, so that's x squared. Last term in the last box. And then we're gonna draw our big X. And we're gonna say A times C, which is 20. B, which is -9. What two numbers can I multiply together to get me 20, but add together to get me -9? Okay, -5 and -4, right? So now we're gonna take out our GCF, or we're gonna find out the sides. So that's gonna be X and X, -4, -5. So we'll fill this in with 5 and 4. And no, it doesn't matter which one you put first. You get the same thing. Okay. On the second one, it wants us to multiply these out. So we have x minus 1 and x plus 17. X times x gives us x squared. X times -1 is -1x. 17 times x gives us 17x. And 17 times -1 is -17. I can add these together. And so this is going to give me x squared plus 16x minus 17. And so we can fill in the minus, we can fill in the plus. Okay. And on our last one, we're factoring. So this is going to give me x squared in the first box, -28 in the last box, -28 in the top, -12 in the bottom. What two numbers can I multiply together to get me -28, but add together to get me -12? 7 and 4? 7 plus 4, 12? No. Okay. What else can we multiply together? -14 and 2, right? Okay, now we're going to factor. So x plus 2 goes here. X minus 14 goes here. Oop, JK. Minus 14, x plus 2. So let's fill in these boxes really quick. See how you did? Okay, 20 times 100 is 2,000. 2 times 20 is 40. 2 times 100 is 200. 30 times 2 is 60. 2 times 2 is 4. On the next one, 10x squared. 4 times x is 4x. And then 4 times 3 would give us 12. 3 times 10x is 30x. Okay, and sometimes you have to kind of like work around it. There's always a question on the EOC that does something like this where they like leave blank spaces. Okay, you kind of have to know what you're dealing with. All right, now this one we have to kind of work backwards. 2 times what would give us -2? Well, that's -1. Okay, 2 times what would give us 6x? That's 3x. What times 3x would give us 3x squared? That's 1x. X times -1 is -1x. Okay. This one you'll see more in Algebra 2, but it's good to go ahead and look at it. 2x squared times x would give us 2x cubed. I know that's one that we haven't seen yet. -3x times x is -3x squared. 2 times x is 2x. 2x squared times -2 is -4x squared. -3x times -2 is 6x. And 2 times -2 is -4. Okay, now they left this real open for us. So on here, what times what would give us -5? Well, that's probably -5 times 1, right? what times what would give us 2x squared? Well, that's probably 2x and some type of x, right? This will give us negative 5x here, and this will give us 2x here. Now, you could have maybe flopped those and put them on the other sides, or maybe changed. No, you probably would have flopped them, maybe. Okay. So multiply to get you negative 40, but add together to get you negative 6. What did you come up with? So multiply to get you negative 40, but add together to get you negative 6. What factors of 40? We got 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10. Can I add those together and get 6? Yeah, that's 4 and negative 10. Okay. What about the next one? Multiply gets you negative 40, but add together to get you 6. Well, if you flip the signs on those, we can do that. Multiply to get you negative 36, but add together to get you 9. Somebody said it. 4 and negative 9? Well, that's for the next one. Oh, okay. I see you. Negative 3 and 12. Yeah. Good. Okay. That's probably the hardest part about factoring. Okay. So now we're going to take it up a notch. So we're doing the exact same thing, but on this one, the only difference now is that there's this 2 chilling out front. Okay. So we're going to put 2x squared in the first box, 3 in the last box. So we did our first 2 steps. So those are good. Now the third step, remember, we did the big X. We're going to take A times C. So that's going to give me 6 here and 5 here. What 2 numbers can I multiply to get me 6, but add together to get me 5? Multiply to get me 6, but add together to get me 5. 2 times 3. Okay. All right, people. This is where it starts to get tricky. It doesn't matter where you put them in the box. But now we have a greatest common factor that does impact this a little bit differently. Okay. So what times what would give us 2x squared? First, let's look at the numbers. What times what would give us 2? 2 and 1, right? And we see that a 2 is also down here. Something to keep in mind. We know that there has to be an x on both of these. What times 1x would give us 3x though? 3. And what times 2x would give me 2x? 1. So our final answer is 2x plus 3 times x plus 1. This one wasn't super bad, but sometimes these can be a little tricky, especially with this a term being greater than 1. Let's set up this one. Sorry, I'm moving pretty quick. I just want to give you enough time. Okay. So we're going to put the first term in the first box, last term in the last box. Our big X, A times C, that's negative 4. B is 3. What 2 numbers can I multiply together to get me negative 4, but add together to get me 3? So 4 and negative 1, right? That work? Okay. So 4x is going to go here, and negative 1x is going to go here. And again, it doesn't matter where you put them on the diagonal. Okay. Now, what times what would give me 2x squared? 2x and 1x, right? What times x would give me negative 1x? Negative 1. What times 2x would give us 4x? 2, right? Okay, so our final answer is x plus 2 times 2x minus 1. Okay. Let's check your work. Okay. So we got a box. Put a first term in the first box, last term in the last box. Make our big X. A times C is negative 12, and B is 4. So what two numbers can I multiply together to get me negative 12, but add together to get me 4? So multiply to get you negative 12, add together to get me 4. This is where everybody gets stuck. What are factors of 12? 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, 4. Which one of these can I manipulate to get you 4? 2 and 6. All right, now which one needs to be negative then? Negative 2, okay? It's okay to take a second and list out factors. That's all right, okay? We're gonna get 6x up here and negative 2x here. Now here's the tricky part. What times what would give me 3x squared? 3 and 1, right? Now where do you put the 3? Because it matters. On the side. Why do we put it on the side and not up here? 3 times nothing would give us negative 2, right? Okay. So we've got 3x times what gives us 6x? What times 3x would give us 6x? 2. And then what times x would give us negative 2x? Negative 2. So our final answer is 3x minus 2 times x plus 2. Okay. On the next one, same concept. First in the first box, last in the last box. A times C is negative 12. B is negative 11. What two numbers can I multiply together to get me negative 12, but add together to get me negative 11? So again, factors of 12 are 12 and 1, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. 12 and 1. And which one's going to be negative? Negative 12, right? Okay. Now what times 4x squared? What would give me 4x squared? This is where it starts getting tricky because it has to work for the next part too. We could do 2, right? Let's try 2. 2 times 2. What times 2x would give me negative 12x? What times 2x would give me negative 12x? Negative 6. What times 2x would give us 1x? Is there anything that would make that happen? No. So that means that we have to re-look at what's up here. Okay, so coming back up here. What times what would give us 4? We already tried 2 times 2. So what's another factor of 4? 4 times 1, right? So we're going to put 4x here and 1x here. What times 3x would give us negative 12x? Negative 3. What times 1x would give us 1x? 1. Okay, now all of that works. So we've got x minus 3 and 4x plus 1. Sometimes you kind of have to play with that box to make sure that everything works out. It's like those puzzles. It has to work for every single piece. You ever done a Sudoku before? Yeah. Okay, same concept. You have to make sure that every box works. Okay.